afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and again, sorry for the delay. Our guests came directly from the government meeting at Ashkelon. The 50 days of Operation Protective Edge created the political and economic challenges for Israel. The fighting affected not only the people's daily lives, but the financial stability, especially in south of Israel. As the days go by, we realize more and more that the consequences of the operation would have severe effects on next year's budget. I would like to invite Minister of Finance and Cabinet member Yair Lapid to give his opening remarks, and later on we will take some questions based on how much time we have left. I would like just to remind you that this briefing is broadcast live on our Facebook page and YouTube channel and delivered to the Jewish communities worldwide. Minister Lapid, the floor is yours. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Hi, good afternoon, everybody. We are now almost a week into the current ceasefire, but Operation Protective Edge is not over. The ceasefire is only the beginning of the next stage of the operation, the diplomatic stage, that must lead to the demilitarization of the Gaza Strip. The only measure is our ability to achieve long-term quiet for the residents of southern Israel. We had major military achievements and have now moved to the diplomatic front. We fought a long and complex operation against a terrorist organization with no regard for human life. We fought an enemy with a value system opposed to our own. We sanctify life and they sanctify death. Hamas wanted to kill our children and was willing to see their own children killed in a sick attempt at propaganda. That is a difficult concept to understand and an even more difficult one to accept. Hamas knows the price that they have paid, and they know the price that they will pay if they start firing again. We destroyed over 30 tunnels which took Hamas years to build, tunnels which were meant to carry out attacks against Israeli civilians and children. We destroyed rocket launchers, production facilities, and terror infrastructure. We targeted and eliminated hundreds of Hamas and Islamic Jihad terrorists, including senior leaders. Hamas failed to surprise the IDF, which was ready for them on land, air, and sea. On the home front, the Israeli people showed the strength and resilience despite the painful losses, in particular of an innocent 4-year-old boy whose whole life was in front of him. Hamas and all those who threaten us believe that they will break Israeli society and drive us out if they can make life difficult enough. But they don't understand the strength of the Israeli society. They don't understand our commitment to our home. Leadership is measured by an ability to provide hope, set out a vision, and then deliver it. We cannot and will not allow a situation whereby this ceasefire is the beginning of the countdown to the next round of fire. If we don't take the diplomatic initiative, that is this is exactly what will happen. On September the 22nd, the donor countries are scheduled to meet in New York. At that conference, the countries of the world will commit aid to rebuild and rehabilitate Gaza. Israel must act before that to avoid a conference where Gaza gets support and Israel gets nothing. We need a regional conference with the Egyptians, the Saudis, the Gulf states, and of course the representatives of the Quartet. That conference should focus on one thing: ensuring the rehabilitation place alongside demilitarization. During the operation, European and American leaders called for the demilitarization of Gaza, and now we need to work with them and with the Arab world to make that a reality. We must return the Palestinian Authority to the border crossings where they legally belong. We must ensure Hamas does not rearm. We must ensure that the framework is put in place for a sustainable and long-term solution. The success of a regional conference can also provide a framework for a wider diplomatic horizon, which will take advantage of the changes in the region to the mutual benefit of Israel and the Arab world. The threat of terror is a common threat to the whole entire Western world. As the Islamic State continues to march through Iraq and Syria, the world understands that we face an ideology committed to death and destruction, an ideology of brutality towards non-Muslims and towards anyone they see as the wrong type of a Muslim. That is Hamas as well, a group which glorifies the death of children, a group which carries out cold-blooded executions in the street. We watch the Islamic State, and we have no doubt we must hit Hamas hard, so they never had the opportunity to do what the Islamic State is doing in Iraq and Syria. The end of the military stage also brings with it the bill. 50 days of fighting in air and on land and by sea is an expensive matter. The IDF needs to restock, and we will not spare one shekel when it comes to the security of the soldiers and citizens of Israel. Now we must support the communities, also support the communities around the Gaza Strip and throughout the Israeli South. They need to rebuild their lives and rebuild their homes. It is our responsibility to help them, and that is what we are working towards. Despite the financial burden, we will be able to bear most of the cost of the operation within the 2014 budget. Israel's economy is strong and it is robust. Our currency is strong, investments are still strong. We expect a small decrease in growth as a result of the operation, particularly due to the impact on tourism, but experience shows up that the growth will return, and it will return quickly and strongly, as happened after former campaigns. This is also the time to say to the world, come visit Israel. Come and invest in Israel. The most Zionist act the Jewish community around the world can do today is to book a holiday and come spend the holy days here in Israel. Before I take question, I want to end by saying this. Israel is strong. Our military is strong. Our economy is strong. Our society is strong. We paid a heavy price during this operation. Now we have a responsibility to make sure that the benefits for our people, for the people of Israel, are real and long-lasting. Thank you. We will take questions now.
Okay. So please, those who will ask questions, introduce yourself, and Williams, yes, and also for the microphone, because we are broadcasting live. Vital, please.
Hello, Minister. This is William Booth with the Washington Post. My question is, there was an announcement today of 900 acres, I don't know what the figure is in dunams, of land acquisition in the West Bank today south of Bethlehem. Settlement Watch calls this the biggest land grab in 30 years. It was announced on Israeli radio this morning that this was being done to punish Hamas for the kidnapping of the 3 teenagers. Could you tell us a little bit about your thoughts on taking this land and what this might mean ultimately for some kind of a deal with donors, with demilitarization in Gaza? How does that fit into the overall?
Yeah,
goal?
I wasn't aware of the decision, and I have instructed my team to dig in and explore more about this. Basically, we are against any swift changes within the West Bank right now, as we need to go back to some kind of process there. And of course, as I was saying, I will elaborate more as soon as I will study the decision in deep.
Isabel? New York Times, would you like to ask a question? No, please. Well done. You asked last time, please.
Thank you, Isabel Kirshner of the New York Times.
Hi.
You've spoken very passionately even before this operation about the need for a diplomatic process to return to negotiations for a solution to the Palestinian question. But do you really believe this government coalition is going to be able to deliver anything like that? And why, after all these months and the failure of the last attempt, are you still in the government?
Well, I don't remember who was the leader who said the never, 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 never give up. But he was right. We have to go back to the table. There's also an opportunity in the current situation, because this is clarified, I think, to almost everybody in this government, that the Palestinian Authority is the partner to talk to. It's government's policy now to bring them back to the crosses and to try and make sure they will be in charge of the Gaza Strip and the rehabilitation of the Gaza Strip. So we're talking to them, and this is a good thing. As I was saying, I'm pushing forward as much as I can the regional conference. I think we need to find new passes and new solutions and trying to find another way of attacking this, but we must and we will stay on the course that says that this government was established with, saying we understand the two-state solution is the only solution and we're going to work towards it together. The Prime Minister said so, of course I do, and other ministers. So yes, I still think this government can provide new solutions and work towards this path.
Stephen, Reuters, would you like to?
Yes.
Just 1 second. Your full name, please. And
Stephen Shear from Reuters. I wanted to ask you about, you've come up with some budget framework in raising the budget deficit for next year. You said this year the cost of the war would be handled. Do you still see, with the slowing economy, even a 3.5% budget deficit to be met? And my second question after that is, there seems to be a public debate with the governor of the Bank of Israel. Is this something that Israel could afford right now, with foreign investors watching, to have an open public battle with the central bank? Thanks.
Yeah, I just, interestingly enough, I can combine the two questions because I just spent a very pleasant hour with the governor of the Israeli Central Bank discussing the fact that people say about us that we cannot sit and discuss things. We are in very good terms, and we're working together on this budget. We don't always see eye to eye on where to lead the economy, and it's a good thing. You don't want to live in a world where everybody, in democracies, people tend not to agree about everything, and it's a good thing. I think very highly on the governor, and I respect her opinions, and I listen to them very carefully. It's part of the decision-making process. About the deficit, when I came into office, deficit was very high, and we took some very painful measures. Some of them were painful personally to me, not personally, but politically. And in order to lower the budget, and we succeeded. And one of the reasons we entered this operation with the ability to absorb the expenses during the 2014 fiscal year is because we took those measures, and we were prepared, and we have some room even under the budget that we were allowed to have. So this leads me to the second part, or actually it was the first part of your question. and we were saying, why is it that countries in general needs a lower deficit? It is for them to be able to handle and absorb crisis, war, hurricanes, whatever. So we are now, this is a year of a war, and this is the year that you use the fact that you entered it with a low budget and you raise the budget, lower the deficit, and you raise the deficit a bit. So we will be, I don't know, I don't want to give a direct number. It all has to do with what kind of expenses we're going to have on security. It is higher than we expected or wanted, but this is what happens when you have military operations. I think it's the longest military operation we had since the Israel independence war. So there's a price to be paid.
Yes, please. Introduce yourself.
Matthew Cowman, also for the New York Times. Could you, the tourism operators in Israel say the results of this war have been catastrophic for their business and they don't see it recovering as quickly as it did at the last time there was a war in the summer, which was 2006. Can you tell us what the impact has been on the income from tourism and how you see it recovering and how you're going to help it recover?
Well, we are exploring it now with the Ministry of Tourism and with the hotel owners and other people who are involved in the industry. Of course, it hurt them. You have to remember that in Israel, tourism season is October and May, not July, August. The high season is October and May. So we still have our hopes about a quick rebound in tourism. Or we're not going to sit around and wait for this. We're going to be proactive in helping the Israeli tourism. Right now we are exploring into all the kinds of helping we need to do to the people of the South, to the Israeli economy in general. I agree to the fact that tourism is a different story, so we are working on this. But we need a few weeks before we will be able, we'll go to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur and Sukkot, and then we will be able to understand more the impact and the swiftness of the rebound of the tourism industry of Israel.
Al Jazeera, would you like to ask a question? No? Okay. Please, yes, please. No, sorry. The lady was the first. Okay.
Shalom, Roxana Levinson, W Radio Colombia. I would like to come back to Hamas and the confrontation, and my question is, how is Israel going to avoid the Hezbollah model? Hamas with weapons, power, but not responsibility, state responsibility.
Well, I would say there is a great difference because Hezbollah is on the Lebanese territory, and the Lebanese government can be held responsible for whatever they do. Let me remind you that during, the Second Lebanon War, we also, for example, bombed the neighborhoods inside Beirut, the Hezbollah neighborhoods inside Beirut. So there's a difference there. We will do everything in our power to avoid the possibility of constant threat. And it's not like we're going to accept the idea that, having a missile a week, a rocket in every 2 weeks, we're going to respond to all that very strongly and very harshly. Because we believe this is not acceptable. But we have to have a more sustainable and permanent solution. And this is why I was saying that we are going to push forward the regional conference and draft into this the international community, because we share an interest there, because we can ally ourselves with other countries, because I think Hamas listens to the Arab world, and therefore we need the Arab world to be part of this solution. So it's there's a good thing about the Hezbollah model. It's been quiet for about 8 years now, and this is a good thing. But it's not like we're going to accept a model that says that we are they're threatening us, and we accept this, but doing it quietly. So no.
Okay, last question. We will give the privilege. I must say that dear Minister, the last 50 days we had lots of press briefing from many ministers. You've got patience, and I remind you, he's the first minister that came here without a driver. He came directly, and he drove on himself. And really, thank you very much for your time. Gil, Jerusalem Post, please. Your last question.
I want to ask you about the conference that you're planning, this diplomatic initiative. Have you received any indication from Netanyahu in your private conversations with him? Victor Lieberman surprised us that he is interested in such a thing, that the Prime Minister will go along with having the kind of diplomatic conference that he himself represented Israel at the Madrid conference when he was Deputy Foreign Minister way back when?
Well, of course, I've talked to the Prime Minister before talking to you guys about this. Yes, I've discussed this with the Prime Minister. We've discussed this within Cabinet. There's a general feeling that this is a good idea, especially since the donors conference is going to gather anyway. We're exploring ways to do it. I discussed it with other people, like the German Foreign Minister, Steinmeier. I have a meeting next week with the Norwegian Foreign Minister. Norway is the head of the donors conference countries. So we're discussing it with everybody. But yes, I think the Prime Minister was very positive towards the idea, and we're working together, and we will work together. And therefore, I'm optimistic about this.
How will you prevent the aid from getting to Hamas? The Hamas which controls
David.
a good portion of Gaza.
David, please.
I didn't get the question.
Okay.
Half of the question
מר בדין, please. יש פה order. Please. He's a finance minister. Please, Financial Times, last question. John, please.
Just one more question. Thanks, Mr. Minister. What kind of incentive can you offer Hamas for demilitarization? It's a step that all of us very skeptical that they will take. What on earth could you offer them? And also, can you say which of these Arab and other countries have accepted your invitation for a pre-conference conference?
Well, I mean, there's not an invitation yet. There is right now we're checking exploring the possibilities. Well, Hamas have a very big incentive. This is the rehabilitation of Gaza. During the Cold War, there was a famous song, "Do the Russians love their children too?" Do you remember this one? So it's the same here. I don't know. If they love the children too, probably they want to see Gaza rehabilitated and rebuilt. And this cannot come for free. They are the cause for the destruction of Gaza, and they should pay the price for the rehabilitation and rebuilding of Gaza. And the price is the demilitarization. It's a deal.
The reconstruction conference will go ahead anyway, whether or not.
Well, it depends. If the international community is gonna say there is a tag price for the reconstruction and rebuild of Gaza, then there will be a tag price. This is what we're pushing for right now. We think it's a very bad idea just to give them the reconstruction and rehabilitation of Gaza and not asking them for anything in return. That's the whole initiative.
Does the government have a policy?
Okay, just 1 second. We have 2 more questions. Yeah, just 1 second. Hello? Just 1 second. Give him a microphone, please. Give him a microphone. Please introduce yourself.
Moshe Dan, freelance. Does the government have a position on UNRWA as part of the rehabilitation program?
Not a declared one.
You have an undeclared one?
Well,
does the government have
you know,
any policy
listen.
regarding UNRWA now that we know that it is part of the Hamas strategy to use UNRWA facilities in order to cover its own activities?
I think every objective viewer in the Western world has saw during this operation the way that the UNRWA schools and facilities were used, and everybody feels that this is wrong and should be corrected. This is if you're asking what is the official policy of the State of Israel, the official policy of the State of Israel and the government of Israel is that you cannot have schools and hospitals built for you and then use them as a terror bases.
Okay. Please. I would like to thank very much to our finance minister and the member of the cabinet. תודה רבה.
תודה רבה.
רגע, אני צריך תמונה ממך על הרקע של הציבור.